Hello and Namaste. I am Ketan from 192 Consulting. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the details of the shares to be mentioned in the newspaper advertisement. So before going into the details of the shares to be mentioned in the newspaper advertisement, let us quickly understand why newspaper advertisement becomes mandatory, or in which cases is it imperative for the investors to issue a public notice through the newspaper advertisement. Again, this information will go in conjunction with the last week's video which dealt with the information to be mentioned in the first information report or FIR which is filed when the share certificates are lost. Newspaper advertisement is also to be given when the share certificates are lost. Let us understand the purpose of newspaper advertisement. See, we are talking about, or we deal with the shares which are to be reclaimed from the company's suspense escrow account or from the Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority. The shares which are currently unclaimed, lying either with the company or with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and the shares for which documents are lost. This in itself gives space to a lot of presumptions or a lot of scenarios which may create legal complexities down the line. In order to avoid the legal complexities, the procedure states that a public notice has to be given if the shareholder is not in the possession of the share certificates. This is the way to safeguard three primary stakeholders. First stakeholder is the investor himself. Second is the company and the RTA. And third stakeholder is the Ministry of Corporate Affairs or the IEPFA. Once the investor has issued a newspaper advertisement and nobody has objected to it beyond the time stipulated in the public notice given by way of newspaper advertisement, the investor gains his foothold as a claimant to those shares. The RTA will also stick to that advertisement if the objection does not come up, and the Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority will also lay thrust on the advertisement while recrediting the shares back to the investor. Now, again, the content of this advertisement is similar to the content of the FIR because the investor is claiming the shares, the specification of the shares have to be mentioned. Specification of the shares by and large remain the same. So, what we have mentioned in the last week's video about the specification of the shares in the FIR, the same specifications have to be meant, the particulars have to be mentioned in the newspaper advertisement. First is the name of the company which has issued the shares to the investor. Secondly, the folio number. Again, folio number is the identification of that particular investor or a shareholder in that company. Third, the share certificate numbers, the distinctive number of the shares. So these are the particulars about the shares which have to be made. There are certain other things apart from this which do not come into the FIR but have to be mentioned in the newspaper advertisement. And very important thing I would like to mention over here is the duration, the time period within which the objections are to be called by the person who is also interested in those shares or who stakes claim to those shares, the same shares which the investor is trying to reclaim from the company or the IPF. This time period is of 30 days. So the investor, while issuing the advertisement, should very specifically and expressly mention in that advertisement that the time period within which the objections can be entertained is 30 days from the date of the issuance of this advertisement in the newspaper. If the investor fails to mention this point, then the RTA or the company and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs will not entertain that advertisement as a legitimate one and the claim will get rejected. So along with the number of shares, the time frame for calling of the objection is very important. It's not important, it's mandatory to be mentioned. The name of the shareholder is to be mentioned at the bottom of the newspaper advertisement, and the spelling of that shareholder should be same. I'm not saying similar, it should be same. Alphabetically, it should match to the name mentioned on the records of the company. So suppose a particular name contains the sequence of the alphabets. The sequence of the alphabets should also be the same as they are mentioned on the records of the company. If the sequence also change, the company or the RTA may reject that claim, stating that there is a mismatch in the name given in the newspaper advertisement and the name which is mentioned on the records of the company. The investor will have to again reissue the advertisement, give a fresh public notice for the same time period, expending exactly the double amount of money. Now, where the advertisement has to be given, or in which newspaper? The newspaper advertisement has to be given in the financial newspaper. There are two verticals to it, there are two aspects to it. One, the newspaper having wide circulation in the state where the registered office of the company is situated. That is one where the newspaper advertisement has to be given. Second, the newspaper advertisement has to be given in the financial English daily having circulation throughout the country. This again investors fail to understand, and so that's why these are the points, these are the causes why the claims get rejected. Plus, the languages of the newspaper is also very important. The advertisement which is to be given in the newspaper at the registered office of the, or the state wherein the registered office of the company is situated, should be given in the vernacular language of that state. So, suppose registered office of the company is situated in Maharashtra, the investor has to give an advertisement in a Marathi newspaper having wide circulation in that state, and an English newspaper having wide circulation throughout the country. So we discussed about the particulars of the advertisement, the details of the shares that has to be gone into it, the time frame that is to be mentioned, the language of the newspaper advertisement, and the area in which the newspaper advertisement has to be given. Should you have any query related to newspaper advertisement, to reclaiming of the shares, dematerialization of shares, transfer, transmission, transposition of the shares, you may please feel free to contact us. You can contact us by writing an email on info@192.in, or you can also contact us by marking your comments in the comment section of this video. We'll be all the more happy to get back to you. Till the time, this is Ketan Kank logging off. Thank you so much.